This program was made in partnership with the Adams County chapter of the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame. The Adams County Sports Hall of Fame exists to honor those who participate in athletics in our local community and to celebrate those values that sports can serve to develop in those who participate. To become a chapter member and honor future deserving sports notables, contact President Joe Yeck via email jyeck64@gmail.com or by telephone 717-357-2147. You may also contact Ed Riggs by email edriggs78@gmail.com or telephone 717-357-0133. Hello again, sports fans, and welcome to a special collaboration between Community Media Sports and the Adams County chapter of the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame. I'm Jeff Cook. Very pleased to have with us three outstanding guests. I'll start to my far left, station founder Ray Gowker, himself a member of the Adams County Sports Hall of Fame, and he knows a lot about wrestling, but the gentleman to his right knows just a little bit more. I think, Ray, you would probably concede that.
For
fact.
sure.
But Chris Haines is here, the current boys coach. We really appreciate you taking time out, Coach Haines, because I know you're still involved in the individual postseason leading up to the state playoffs.
Yep, our boys just completed the district tournament this past weekend. We have 4 boys moving on to our state tournament in 2 weeks.
Who are they?
We have Miles Grossman, who's a sophomore who became a 2-time district champion. Only the second time ever in our school history that we have someone that's a 2-time champ. Will Yordy, a junior, took 3rd. Isaiah Jackson, junior, who took 4th, and Caden Shearer, junior, who took 3rd also.
And you won the district title. Was that the team title?
We won the dual championship this year again.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, wrestling is an interesting sport because you have the team component and the individual component. And to my immediate left, Steve Heiser. Don't want to delay your introduction to our viewers anymore. So Steve has joined the community media faithful here, and he's a writer, a sports journalist for many years. The York Dispatch. I'll let you tell us your curriculum vitae, but you've done a piece on Montana DeLauder, the famous girls wrestler who's now in the running for a national title. Coach Haines has coached her, so Steve not only has written about Montana, but also is going to be covering some other subjects of local interest. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Steve, and then we'll cycle back toward Montana DeLauder.
Well, I'm an Adams County resident all my life. I went to Penn State, became a sports journalist after that. Eventually, I became the sports editor at the York Dispatch and had that position for maybe 20 years or so. And then I retired a couple years back. And I saw Ray one night, and he said, you know, would you be interested in doing some feature stories for community media? And, you know, he was
He could be very persuasive.
Yeah, he was excited about the idea. So I said, yeah, I can probably, you know, maybe do one a month. And so we've had 3 so far. The first one was on Casey Lawrence, who is a DeLone grad, who's pitched in the major leagues, and he's still pitching in the AAA ball and minor leagues, hoping to get back to the majors. And it's pretty...
34?
37, I think.
37?
Right?
I mean, I knew he was getting a little long in the tooth, but he's determined.
And it was a pretty phenomenal story because he went to a Division III school, wasn't recruited at all, basically, and signed as a free agent after he got done college and worked his way up in the minors. It took him like 8 years to get to the majors, and you know, and then he's had like several stints with, you know, a couple different teams. So it's pretty remarkable what he's done. And then the second one I did was on the Oxford quarterback Braden Long, who had just finished a standout career at Slippery Rock, and he. You know, also, he was up for the Harlan Hill Award a couple times, which is given to the best Division II football player in the country. And he was one of the finalists for that. And, you know.
Did they go deep into the postseason?
Yeah, they went to the semifinals, I think. And they lost in a close game to the team that eventually won the national championship. And he had a great career. And I thought the reason I was kind of interesting talking to him. I thought he might try to give the pros a shot, but he's decided to go a different direction, and he's going to become a coach. And he's like basically a 4.0 student, unbelievable kid. So I'm sure he'll have some great success. And then I did the story on Montana, who, like I say, she's a 3-time All-American. Last year, I believe she finished 3rd. And now this year, she's ranked 2nd in her weight class. And now there's a girl that she's going to have to beat that's really good, most likely anyway. You never know how things will shake out. But, her and her coach both have confidence that she can give it a run.
I'm pretty sure we have some footage of Braden Long, Montana. I'm not so sure about that, but let's cycle back to Coach Haines. You coached Montana from what, grade, 8th grade, or where'd she start?
No, we probably started about 8 years old, and she joined the elementary program and joined my program at my barn facility, and came up through the Gettysburg and Biglerville programs, both with my brother Ken running the elementary. A lot of times in the wintertime, she would go with him and then come back to me for the spring, summer, and fall. And then she obviously joined our middle school program and all the way up to our high school. So we've been together a long time.
The girls program as a varsity sport, 2 years old? How old is it?
Our school was the 7th school in the state to sanction. So this is year number 5 for us. We've had an overwhelming amount of success with our girls program, not just at the state level, but also at the national level.
Your daughter's done very well in wrestling. It's okay to talk about her.
Yep, she's done quite well. She had a great role model in Montana coming up through. They are sisters through and through, for good and bad. But
Do they spar?
They used to all the time. Now Zoe's quite a bit bigger. So younger sister getting paybacks a little bit on older sister occasionally. But they get along very well and support each other through and through, and have been tremendous role models for our entire program, and honestly for the state of Pennsylvania and women's wrestling.
Steve, I think you mentioned that when Montana was 8 years old, she made the announcement in your story that, hey, I'm going to be a wrestler.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So obviously Chris said maybe it had a lot to do with that. So.
Yeah. It was kind of funny because she thought it was UFC sport. She didn't realize wrestling, or especially classic wrestling, is a whole different
wrestling.
animal. Yeah.
It's not wrestling, it's wrestling.
Yeah.
Big difference.
But she learned pretty quickly, obviously.
Yeah. Quite a journey for her. And now, who wouldn't want to represent their country? So you have a pretty famous nephew too, who plays for a pretty famous program under. I don't know. We could spend all day talking about the Penn State coach, but that's quite a resume. He never lost in high school or college, or never lost as an athlete. Is that correct?
Sanderson.
Yeah. Coach Sanderson, and now 15 championships or something, and just unbelievable. So you're right in his footsteps, Chris, with your record for
Not
sure.
Not quite, but
yeah, but I mean, sustained success, and we've talked about this before with Ray, and how the turnover in athletes, and how you create a culture and a program where you can survive these losses to graduation. Maybe you both comment about that.
Yeah, we at Gettysburg have developed a program that really pushes for the aspect of the process and the aspect of family and culture and things. We run a year-round program that involves, not just wrestling training, but strength training. But probably more importantly is a lot of the stuff that people don't know that we do. Like, every year we have a summer book reading club, that we have kids at, ages, I think our youngest this past year was 9. And our oldest is actually some of our college kids who come back and help out with the program. That we all read a book in the summertime together and do journaling and questionings and stuff like that, and really brings us together and creates another layer to the culture that we have there.
And do you have to be a wrestler to be part of that?
No, our door's open to anybody. A lot of our training is alternative training, so we're not on the mats all the time. So our doors are open to anybody, and we have athletes from other sports join us and things. But it's truly about developing the whole person and the character of people, and getting them to believe in themselves and to carry themselves in a positive manner at all times.
You know, and wrestling is kind of the ultimate hybrid team sport, individual sport. Where else can you not get pinned and lose, but be the hero for your team? I mean, I can't think of too many other situations.
Yeah, and we promote that. We promote the aspect that everybody has a role and a job to fulfill, and it's one of those things where your absolute best, athlete can be an undefeated state champ, but their value is the exact same as someone who never wins a match. And Zoe is a great example of that. As a freshman, she still had to wrestle on the boys' team because PIAA hadn't sanctioned it yet. And in the district championship match against Central Dauphin, her job, she had to go out there and not get pinned. And not only did she not get pinned, she only gave up a decision. And it put us in a position to seal the championship. And our crowd knew and understood that she won, even though she lost the match, and they all cheered. And their wrestler, who is now a senior this year, who's a 4-time state qualifier, he was very distraught.
Yeah.
But you won, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
so-
that's a great
Yeah,
story.
ultimate team sport. Again, like you can have somebody that's unstoppable, but you need 12 other people to do their jobs also.
So, Steve, how did you get involved in sports journalism and the whole area of sports? Everybody has an origin story.
Well, when I grew up as a kid, we had a very sports-oriented family. And my dad, we used to get 3 newspapers a day, and like everybody be fighting for the sports section and that kind of thing. And I just got really interested in it. So I pretty much knew in high school, when I graduated, I wanted to go into it.
Where'd you go to high school?
Alone.
Okay.
And then, like I say, I went to Penn State and majored in journalism. And actually, my first job right out of college was at the Evening Sun. And I worked there for a couple of years. And then I went to the Dispatch. And
Guess you know Chuck.
Chuck Curley?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. Know who he is. Yep.
I worked for the Gettysburg Times, but I
Right.
never worked for the Sun. But a lot of people have swung both ways,
Yeah,
back and forth.
yeah.
So,
Yep. That's how it worked out. And like I say, I retired a couple of years ago and just keeps my hand in it this way.
well, who reads newspapers anymore? I do. I read the Gettysburg Times, and Dakota had some great, or Montana had some great coverage over the years. I'm sure in the Sun as well. But anyway, let's
Part of the nice
go
thing
ahead, Ray.
about part of being a news reporter is, and I'm not one, is you get to see athletes at a young age starting out, and you get to follow them throughout their whole
Right.
career. And in a sense, sometimes you get to establish some type of relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's known and sometimes it isn't, because I'm sure you're rooting for them.
Right. Well, with this situation we have here with community media, the one thing that's nice is when you're working for a newspaper, okay, most of the stories are going to be positive, but not all of them are. I mean, sometimes things happen and you got to report on them, and people don't get happy about it. Here, I can just pick and choose stories that I think are kind of inspirational and that kind of thing, and it's much more pleasant, I'll put it that way.
You don't need to stir the pot and
No,
sell paper.
No, well, it's not so much so. I mean, just sometimes stories come up and you got to cover them, and you're going to make some people unhappy, but it's just the nature of the profession.
And our philosophy here with sports, which Jeff has been doing for 37 years. And in fact, when we first started community media, Jeff was one of the first people I could still see the screen door that I was knocking on at his office, and pitched to him the concept of community programming. And since then, I was blessed to be able to have a relationship with Jeff, which is one that promotes positive
Right.
efforts in our community. And sports was our first programming. And Jeff would go to the games with whatever we could scrounge up as a camera. And I think you bought the first camera so that you could do sports. And he'd be the one-man
Right.
team.
72-hour delay. We would tape the games on Friday, show on Monday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the perfect prelude to Al, Frank, and Dan. So Monday night, you have to put that in context of who those guys were. And Howard Cosell. I don't know when he stopped doing games, but I guess the point I was trying to make earlier is that to read Steve's stories, you don't need to buy a newspaper. You just go to the community media website,
Right.
and they're right there. I was just skimming. We have it up on the screen now, and great photo too. So, was that a provided photo?
Yeah, I whenever I do the stories, well, with Casey Lawrence, I went to he had just played for Team USA in a tournament that they won, and he was like the MVP of the team. And so I went to Team USA and said, hey, you got some pictures? And for the college ones, I went to Slippery Rock and King. And I guess you guys must have had video of Braden, because that was embedded in that story. Mm-hmm. And I think also of Montana, because I think there's video on there of Montana for when she wrestled at Gettysburg.
If we got it, it came through Jeff's efforts.
Yeah,
I guess we have documented how many.
Well, yeah, that's so cool. We put a lot of these old games, they're accessible on demand. So, yeah, I mean, I
Back
saw
to
some,
when?
Yeah, like I saw Bigleyville beat Trinity in football. I mean, that probably doesn't happen too often, but
Not recently, no.
No.
Trinity's been good.
And Steve is a great addition to our team here. Sports needs to be promoted in this area. Participating in sports, supporting sports. One of our goals at community media is to highlight those people who excelled and are Hall of Famers. You know, we have a future Hall of Famer right here in Chris Haines, someone who not only excelled in sports, and I had the privilege of being his football coach in 7th and 8th grade. But, you know, this individual, he's a competitor.
I bet he knew how to tackle.
Do we know how to tackle?
I'm a rugby guy too, and wrestlers make great rugby players because they know how to tackle.
I think wrestling is one of the best sports for any sport, especially for football. I think wrestling is the ideal sport for someone who wants to build mental toughness.
Did you wrestle?
I wrestled until I was a senior. One of the worst decisions, I made some bad decisions in my life, I must say. Sometimes I still do, you know. But probably the worst was that I did not go out for wrestling when I was a senior. I had an injury from football and my mind was incomplete, you know. If I would have wrestled,
have to cut weight.
Cutting weight wasn't that bad. It was. I had an injury, and you know, I didn't have someone that cracked me across the head, and got me focused. And you know, and you don't need a crack across the head. I mean, Chris's program is tremendous that he offers the community, in that he provides advocates for people. When they become part of his program, that person is getting people who goes out of their way for the best interest of that individual. And it isn't so much that you become the best football player in the state. It's that you become the best wrestler or whatever sport that you don't even have to participate in the sport to be in this program, I'm sure. But what you're going to learn is the characteristics and values that makes a person a Hall of Famer, you know, a leader. You learn discipline. You learn how to set goals. I think that might be with Lefty Heiser. He made that part of his class in college, where his students would have to set a goal. Did you go through that did you ever have Lefty?
Yeah, I had a phys ed course called, I think, Speedball. It was a game where you could score like soccer or football or like a soccer goal or a field goal. I mean, it's a great game,
But to set the goal, he had his students set goals weekly, monthly, and the idea of how to set a goal, how to reach your goal, how to become disciplined, how to sacrifice to get something that you want, are skills that individuals like our coaches, people in theater, people and band need to know, or else how do you take yourself to a place that isn't easy to get there? You know,
You said numbers, and I mean, you see the ebb and flow of interests in sports, in society, at the high school level and so forth. You see Fairfield not having enough football players. Coach Haines, you seem to have plenty of athletes to choose from. Have you had success recruiting athletes?
Yeah, definitely. We're very fortunate. We had 39 on our boys roster this year and 17 on the girls roster. And so much of it comes from the aspect that our program is built upon everybody being part of the program and playing an important role. Honestly, a lot of those guys know that they'll never step on a varsity mat. And some of them probably shouldn't step on a varsity mat. But they understand that they have a role to play, and we care about them, and we provide them with so much more than just a wrestling skill set. Coach is talking about goal setting and things like that. We put a lot of time into our goal setting and our mindset and things, but I think the biggest thing that I know I push as a coach, as a dad, as a role model on things is, I want to empower these kids. I want them to believe in themselves, that they're capable of accomplishing anything. And I think what you were looking for earlier, the big thing was, we want these kids to be the best versions of themselves so they can have success in all aspects of life.
No cut policy?
Absolutely not. We take anybody.
That's what I'm saying. You have a no-cut policy, so yeah.
Nobody's leaving, and we don't have kids quit. And wrestling is hard. But we
It's like the Marines; they'll make a man out of you or a woman out of you, or as the case may be.
So. We get. My saying is, if we get you in the room, we're going to get you for life. So there are obstacles to convince kids to give it a try and stuff, but once they get there, they realize the misconceptions they had prior to that aren't necessarily accurate, and we get them forever.
You get they become part of a family.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
They're cheering for each other. They try to find a purpose. I mean, they might find out what's close to their heart is something that they never thought would be, but they gain the confidence to reach out and try. And that's the nice thing about what Steve is doing. Steve is his challenge from us was go out and find future Hall of Famers, people who have those characteristics, that leadership that we could showcase and cheer for, but also could become role models for our younger people who are trying to figure out what they might want to do.
And sports is overcoming adversity, and that builds character. And I wanted to ask Coach Haines about something it's been at least 5 years, but you had an alumni event where they alumni? They weren't wrestling current athletes; they were just wrestling each other, right?
Yep,
but that's a tribute to the love for your program. That maybe some guys came back and embarrassed themselves. I don't know.
Yeah. You're talking about our legends. Legends match. And
how long ago was that?
I think the last time we did it's probably been. Might be 7 years now.
Yeah.
But we've done 4 of those. The original one was many years ago.
Didn't you wrestle your brother?
I ended up wrestling my brother in 3 of those 4. So the original one, Ken and I wanted to wrestle each other. That was the big main event selling point. In the second go round, I didn't want to wrestle. I wanted to MC the thing. And Ken had a match lined up, and the guy who was going to wrestle backed out.
But the better ones that people should see is during their Thanksgiving dinner when they're wrestling to see who gets the wishing bone.
You can take a look at us. You can tell he wins that battle.
You were giving away a few pounds?
So one of those years, we made an agreement that he was going to get down to a certain weight, and I was going to try to get as big as I could, but I wasn't getting much bigger. And when he came in, I could tell he was nowhere close. But I said, "Man, how much you over?" And he said, "About 40 pounds." And he says, "What are you going to do? Cancel a charity event?"
Wow.
So, but yeah, that's. It's fun though. So, and again, all the people that participate in that are kind of like the people that you're looking to highlight and stuff. That
Right.
Yeah.
they're Hall of Famers, and they're people who give back to the community and do all those things for us. And maybe down the road, like maybe Montana will be our first female Legends match that we could line up.
With Zoe right behind her, right?
I don't think those two would agree to wrestle each other anymore, but that would be great.
Yeah.
Chris just received the Coach of the Year award for your conference, was it? Or
District 3, AAA District 3, yeah.
Congratulations.
for the third or fourth time?
I think it was the fourth time. So, yeah.
Yeah, I asked him before he came on because if it was the first time, I was going to say, what were they waiting for? Yeah.
Yeah. Well deserved and
Well deserved. What a leader.
yeah. I mean, just the success of your teams year in and year out. I know you'll be probably the first to credit your assistants, but it all starts with the head guy. So we want to tip the cap to you and all the success you've had.
Oh, I appreciate that, but like you said, it's a staff, it's a group effort. That there are lots of people involved that do a huge part to provide these opportunities for these kids to reach their fullest potential.
And I would just like to say, I like just to say, and I said that, and I'll probably say more than one thing, but, thanks for these outstanding individuals. Steve is a leader in his profession, as you are, Jeff and Chris, and thanks for the efforts and the generosity that you provide for community media. And if you enjoy the sports that we provide for you and our programming, please, there's a donate button on our website.
You could become a Patreon.
Become a Patreon member. Anything that you could do to support community media and highlight the good things that are happening in Adams, York County is greatly appreciated. Jeff, thanks for taking the time to come in.
Sure, yeah, no, I want to welcome Steve, and I've sort of skimmed your story now that I've met you. I want to go back through it, and so when will the next, is it Casey Lawrence is next?
No, those
Great.
were already done.
Oh, okay, so they're all available
Those three, yeah.
on the website.
I think if you just click on my name, the stories on the byline and the stories will come up.
How do you decide the next person?
Well, it's just, I keep a fairly close eye on the sports scene locally. I still subscribe to a number of papers, all online now, but I still, so I try to keep track. And if I see something, that's going to be pretty interesting, I'll try to pursue it. And, so I got a couple ideas if I can get it. I would be interested in talking to Chris's nephew here at some point. He's obviously going to be really busy. And then another guy I'm kind of interested in, hopefully I might be able to talk to, is there's a Tom Howell from New Oxford, who is playing for the University of Florida.
I watched him a couple weeks ago.
And he's doing phenomenal right now. Yeah. A kid got hurt, and he's in the starting lineup now, and he's had a number of 16, 17, 20-point games, and they're ranked like two in the country. And legitimate shot to go to the Final Four, maybe even win a national championship. So I'm hoping that I can maybe catch up with him at some point.
We have footage of him too, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, right.
He played at New Oxford, a freshman and sophomore, and then he went to Perkiomen School.
Transferred. So so he's doing unbelievable things because he's like 6'9" now, and he's really playing well, and for a big time program. So those are a couple I'm kind of hoping I can get to. Obviously, it might be difficult because those guys are going to be very busy over the next month, with tournament action and all that kind of thing. But we'll see. And then there's other stories out there. I'm sure we'll come up with something.
Hey, great. Steve, tell us about what was your first sports journalism job?
Well, it was funny. When I got out of college, I got a job at the Evening Sun in Hanover, but it was a news reporter job. That's all they had. And when getting a job, you just want to get a job. So I told them I'd want to do sports. So I was there a few months, and they said, hey, we can use some guy to cover a game here on Friday night. And it was in Gettysburg, and it was James Buchanan against Gettysburg. And I'm coming home from the game, coming down 116, thinking about what I'm going to write. come over at Storm Store Road on 116, and there's a car parked at the bottom. I have to swerve off, wreck the car. So that was my first sports experience as a so-called professional. So
I know. I was covering the Mound for the Gettysburg Times. They give me a laptop. This is years ago. I like, what the heck is this, you know? And I pushed a button, my story disappeared, and I had some guy from the Frederick paper help me out. But we all have those horror stories. So.
Yeah. So.
And one thing I want to mention is concerning the Adams County Sports Hall of Fame, you should become a member of the Hall of Fame, especially if you're active in sports or have an interest in sports. And you get to be the one who chooses who gets into the Hall of Fame.
You can make nominations and vote as well.
Right. It's not their board members. It's not this elite of people who, you know, are patting each other in the back. It's you. And
what is it, $15 a year dues and $150 lifetime membership or something like that. So.
And they have a website, I think it's adamsports.com that you can go to, and they're just setting it up, and we're helping them, which is exciting. And you'll be able to become a member. And, you know, we're hoping to get to the point where current high school members can also participate and, you know, focus on not only those who have done it, but those, again, who are and will be an active participant in becoming the best they can in the sports they choose.
All right. Thank you, Raymond.
Jeff.
Our founder.
Yeah, I just, you know, want to say thanks for all that you have done for our station. I remember there was times where you were the sports director, the president, the treasurer, whatever it took, you were there. You know, so thank you.
Yeah, those were the days. We've come a long way. I mean, just like don't we own all this equipment here? So
yeah,
pretty exciting. Yeah. Ray, thanks as always. Chris Haines, continued success to you, your wrestlers, and best wishes to you, and good luck to Montana DeLauder in her pursuit of it. And she has Olympic aspirations as well.
Yeah, she's competed internationally a couple times already, and I think she got two silver medals. I think one in Spain and
Spanish Grand Prix 2 years ago. She was second, and then this past summer at Pan Am's, she got the silver medal. Yeah.
So she pretty much trains year round.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's exciting. Definitely. If she makes it to the Olympic team, definitely a follow-up story might be in order.
Yeah,
so.
there you go.
Steve Heiser, welcome to Community Media Sports and Community Media. We look forward to having you work with us in the future, and great job so far.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in, and hope to see all of you soon. Become a Patreon if you can. Continue to support community media and community media sports in the various ways that you were able to do so. Thanks to our technical staff. Sean is here, and as always, we appreciate his efforts. Have a pleasant evening and a pleasant tomorrow, everyone. Good night.